Hello everyone, welcome to this demo on how to use the curves under the adjustments layers. I wanted to create a video mainly about the curves because I know that it's the one adjustment that it can have a lot of confusion on people because it looks a little bit more intimidating and there's so many things that you can do within the curves that I thought it would be good for you guys and beneficial to just have one demo about how to use properly the curves. So I have one image right here. I want to start with this one. And before we start there, I just want to point out where the adjustments are in case you forgot. But make sure that you are under the photography workspace. So I'm going to go all the way right here on the top. And I'm going to click here. Make sure that you're in photography. If it looks different, it might be that you pulled out some panels or maybe you closed a panel by accident. If that's the case, just hit reset photography and it will go back to the defaults. Okay. So once you're here, you want to go right here to adjustments so you can see the adjustments. I'm actually going to pull them out so you guys can see them more clearly. And now that I have them here, I'm going to use this one right here, the one in the middle, which is the curves. So once you click there, it's going to open the properties panel. So this panel right here, I'm also going to pull it out so it stays open so you guys can all see it all the time. It's the one that we're going to be working on. So I'm going to put it right here. Both of these so it can be accessible. Okay, so once we have the curves open, the first thing that you're going to notice is you're going to see this graph that has a diagonal line. Okay, you have this kind of like also like a graph of a histogram that you guys have seen in the camera or under levels, or you can see it right here on the top also. So this is basically, you know, an X-ray, if we want to call it that, of how the images is basically built up in terms of light. Okay, so you can see that this corner right here, you can see that it's black and black, and then this corner right here is white, and that corner is white. So what this graph is telling you is this point right here is the purest black or the deepest black in this image. So basically it will be 0, okay, totally black. This one over here, all the way on the top right, is 255, which is pure white. Okay, no information at all, it's just pure white. So that's what that means. Okay, so if you imagine, you know, this line being diagonal right here, okay, so it goes from pure black to pure white. But in this case, it's just diagonal. Okay, so imagine that you have a bunch of little switches, like light switches, you know, all the way across. Boom, 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 a bunch of them. Okay, and those light switches, you can click to turn it on, lighter, or click to turn it down, darker. But in the way that this works is you first add a dot or a point or an anchor point in the part of that graph that you want to edit. One way of approaching this, if you're not familiar with how this should work, this is a great tool that they added in Photoshop. And if you click here, and you don't have to click, if you hover over it, you can see where that area falls into the graph. So this rock right here is basically right in the middle. So if I want to darken those kind of tones, all this wall right here, it will be basically brightening it up the middle part. If I go here and I want to make that lighter, then you know that it's basically all the way on the bottom. It needs to go up. So if you're not sure what you want to do, a good place to start to make the overall image brighter is clicking on the middle, on the midtones, and you push it up. The reason is, even though it's on the middle and I push it up, it's actually raising everything on the top and the bottom a little bit. So it's going to make all the tones of that image kind of look brighter, which is good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But one thing I want to point out is once you do that, you can use the keys in your keyboard to basically raise it higher or go lower. Okay. So you can make it darker. Okay. So you can basically fine tune, you know, how bright you want this by using the arrows in your keyboard. So that's just to make it brighter. Now, if I want contrast, then you want to make the shadows, which is right in this area, and the highlights right in this area. You want to make the shadows darker to create contrast and raise the highlights also. Okay, so that's to add contrast. So if I show you the before and after, that before, after. So I basically made the image a little bit brighter and added more contrast. Okay, so that's one thing you can do right here on that first panel. When you see it and you open it, it's just, you know, brighten up the image. You can add more contrast. I will be careful with the contrast. You don't want to overdo it. Okay, because then it starts looking weird. But right now, this image, the one thing that I feel like it needs is actually fixing the color, because it's kind of distracting that it's cyan looking. So there are two ways of fixing colors within the curves adjustment. Sorry, I went blank for a second there. The one that you have to go to is this area right here, okay? The RGB. If you click there, there's going to be a drop-down menu, and you have red, green, and blue, which are the channels that make your image. That's why those colors are right here on this histogram right here. So we want to adjust the reds probably first, and the reason is it has a lot of cyan, so the opposite of that is red. So I need to add more red to take away the cyan. And then another color that I want to adjust is the blue, because I want to take some blue. So I basically lower the blue. Okay, so the opposite of blue, okay, is going to be the color that we want to adjust, right? So if we take blue out, it adds, the opposite color, which is yellow. If we go here to the red, we added red, okay, so it took away some of that cyan. So that's how this works. If you forget what these ones are, you can actually go to the adjustments here in color balance, and it will show you basically what I just mentioned. The opposite of red is cyan, and the opposite of blue is going to be yellow. Okay, so I need to delete this now so it doesn't get confusing. But what I want to show you is that that's what I just did right here. I added red because I needed to take that cyan out. And then on the blue, I took away blue so that way it can add more yellow. And that fixes the image, the colors a little bit. So that's something that I just thought this image highly needed. There's an extra trick that you could do. So I'm going to take all the adjustments out again. When you go right here and you open this image, I already talked to you about this one. So for example, if I want to darken the sky, I can click here. If I want to make this lighter, I can click here. So you can kind of fine tune your image using this. But right underneath, there are these eyedroppers. And I'm going to show you later on how to use the black one and the white one. For now, I just want to focus on this one. And this one can behave like the white balance tool on Camera Raw when you're actually clicking on the image to neutralize the colors. Here, if you click here, you can go right here in an area that you think is white and click on it, and it should neutralize the colors for you. Okay, so this is actually closer to what the light condition was when this picture was taken, because it's actually at sunset, so it should be a little bit warmer. But if you're not satisfied with it, you can go here still. You can go to the reds, and you can take away some of the red, or on the blue, you can take away some of that blue and kind of like fix it. So you can still fine tune this image, and you can go back to the RGB if you want. And I'm actually going to lighten up this image a little bit and create a little bit of contrast. Whoop, not that much. Just a tad. So you can kind of play with this and fix your image in three ways. You can adjust the density, the overall brightness, right? You can adjust the contrast, and you can adjust the color, all within one adjustment layer. So that becomes really helpful. It saves you some time that you don't have to keep opening a bunch of stuff. And it will be very useful later on when we go into more advanced editing. I will show you that you can actually have separate layers of curves to adjust the image in different ways by mixing it with different blending modes. So that's a little bit more advanced, but I will show you that later. But for now, it will be great if you get familiarized with this. So I'll give you a couple labs so you can basically adjust some images using the curves, both the color and the contrast of your image. Okay, so I hope this was helpful to basically deconstruct the adjustments layer of curves, so that way you understand how it works, and to simplify it a little bit by making just one video of it. If you have questions, ask me. I'll happily help you with it, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.